I was always fascinated with computers, and I was always just drawn to technology and what it could potentially do. I was always terrible at gymnastics, soccer, hockey. So in school then I got a bit lazy, even a small bit overweight. I found it difficult to walk up a hill. When I started university then I had access to try Olympic weightlifting and Muay Thai kickboxing. And I said, this is exactly the thing for me. My passion for weightlifting and fitness. I really want to spend my time and energy building technology in an area I'm really passionate about, which is health and fitness. People like me who grew up seeing all these, terrible economic disasters down to greed. And, I want to be kind of pave the way for ethical companies in the future.
Thank you so much for coming to the live with Founder. How's it going?
Hi Max, thanks so much for having me on. I'm very well, how are you?
Oh, good. Thank you so much for coming. And that's another story. Here, we don't pitch, we talk about yourself. That's an intro into your life. Any startup has 1, 2, 3 founders, and even 4, or how many they're going to be. And there's a life behind, and we talk about your life today. Would you like to paint a picture to me about where you come from and how it all started in your life?
Yes, so I'm from Ireland, based on the west coast here in Galway. So really, when I was thinking about my origin, it really comes from 3 key areas that led me to here. So the first one being technology. I was always fascinated with computers. I think the very first Christmas gift that I can remember being, this is the coolest thing ever, was a VTech children's laptop with just buttons. Even though it was so simple, I was just so drawn to it. And then going through school, I was always just the one helping teachers fix printers, things like this, and then started coding as well. And I was always just drawn to technology and what it could potentially do. So that passion was always there. But as well, another aspect then is through my family's business. So my father, he runs retail shops, Spar and Maxall service stations. So from the age of 10, I would be kicked out of bed at, 5, 6 o'clock during the summer holidays. Come on, Emma, let's get up, let's go to work. And I'd be nearly holding onto the pillow, no, Dad, please, I'm so tired. It's come on, Emma, you'll get some money. I was okay, fine, let's go. So, I'd be going off in the car with my dad, be, just the very start, cleaning shelves, putting up, packets of crisps, things like this. Then as I got a bit older, then when I was 12, I was put on the payroll, uniform, things like this. Then working in the deli counter, making, sandwiches, coffees, things like this. It was very different work, but it's you learn a lot about communicating with people, the public, and then getting more responsibilities. Ended up doing daily cash sheets, so doing some rosters, managing staff, opening, closing the shop. So that kind of discipline around work, but also learning my father, his aspects of running a shop, because people see, oh, he's the boss, what's he doing? But I'm seeing him on the computer managing the margins, staff coming and going, how stressful it can be. If someone doesn't show up or stock doesn't show, it always ends up on him. He's the very last person that the responsibilities fall on. So that definitely is a huge contributing factor to me, knowing the kind of difficulties of entrepreneurship and how to overcome them. But then really the third and final aspect that led to the origin of this is my passion for weightlifting and fitness. So throughout school, I'm naturally extremely unathletic. I was always terrible at gymnastics, soccer, hockey, whatever. I have 2 left feet, very bad coordination. And so in school then I got a bit lazy, even a small bit overweight. And it got to the stage when I was starting university, I found it difficult to walk up a hill. I was okay, I need to do something. So when I started university then I had access to try Olympic weightlifting and Muay Thai kickboxing. And I said, this is exactly the thing for me, because I'm not trying to be the person to get on the basketball team. I don't have to beat anyone else. I just have to beat myself. If I can increase my output by 1% from the last day, well, that's exactly what I want to achieve. So weightlifting, I was hooked on the numbers. Okay, the first day I could squat 20 kilos, and then 6 months, like, oh, I can squat 50 kilos now. Like that, the numbers, having metrics is just a complete buzz for me. So I got totally hooked on weightlifting and Muay Thai. So it was the combination of these three things that when I was finishing university and completing my project, I said, wow, there could actually be a business out of this project. But let me take some time. I want to save some money first, and get some real life work experience, but also chill out a small bit because I worked my ass off during college, got a first class honors degree, and I knew that starting a startup, it's not an easy road. I said, okay, I'll go work in a nice company for a few years, save some money, do some traveling, and then we'll hit the ground running with the startup. And that's how the path has unfolded so far.
That's a very long, long journey. But you've been so stimulated since you were very, very, very young, 10 years old. Now, and stimulated by because your family had a business already. Yeah. But from here to start a business yourself and be an entrepreneur, that's a different story. So doing something for myself is one thing, creating something for the others, it's very different. So it requires huge commitment and a lot of strength. So what is the motivation, your motivation outside the one you already talked to me, that bring you to say, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to fix this not only for me, but for everyone.
Yeah, so like, that's a very great like framing on fixing something for me versus everyone, which led to a kind of pivot in the business originally. So I can talk about the pivot in a bit, but the main motivation behind this, like a huge driver for me, is social equality as well. So, I've visited some countries, done some volunteering. I grew up seeing like the Wall Street crash, corporate greed, and to me, I thought surely there could be better companies out there that are giving back more to society. So to me, I really want to spend my time and energy building technology in an area I'm really passionate about, which is health and fitness. And then to say, right, I don't necessarily want to work for a company that's doing these things. I want to start my own company and set my own rules so that my employees will get a fair share of the pie, that we take corporate social responsibility extremely seriously and to heart, that we can't, affect the environment in negative ways, that we always try to give back wherever we can. So that's really where like this driving factor is, that I want to create something that I'm really passionate about, but also drive a really ethical company for people like me who grew up seeing all these, terrible economic disasters down to greed. And, I want to be kind of a pave the way for ethical companies in the future.
How was the feeling when you decided, I will go for them and there is no way back? Normally, entrepreneurs must never look back.
Yeah, it was a very distinct moment that I can remember, because in Ireland, Enterprise Ireland do a New Frontiers program. So the option for this program, then once you get accepted, you get 6 months on this program where you can get €2,500 as a stipend. So you can actually still live. It's like a salary replacement. But they also teach you about business plans, market research, financial projections. Like I wouldn't have had a clue about any of those things working as a software engineer. So I applied for this program, and I think it was the 14th of September 2021. I was actually in Iceland with my boyfriend, and we were like snowed in a car at the time. There was just a total blizzard. And I saw the phone, I got this email saying, you were accepted onto New Frontiers. And I thought I'd be so happy. I think I was. I burst out crying immediately. I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. It was like, this was the moment I knew it was going to happen, because I was working on this as a weekend side encoding project when I was working with the multinational company. But now it's okay. I'm going to quit my job and start a company. Like that moment was so incredible. So I think I will always remember that moment for the rest of my life.
What were the initial struggles? When you struggled the most when you started?
I mean, for sure, I think trying to um, reframe the solution to a problem, because engineers tend to be very solution focused, new technology, shiny things. Because I thought initially I would build this product as like a smart mirror for gyms, because it came from my personality of, oh, I want to train in the gym, I want to get feedback on my technique. This would be such a cool product. So on this entrepreneurship program, they say, okay, go talk to customers, see what they think. So I went talking to gym managers with my idea, and they said, yeah, it looks really cool, but I can't see us paying for a big mirror, and then a software subscription. It just doesn't really suit us. maybe go talk to physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches. So that's when I went talking to them, and they said, look, we don't need this real-time feedback smart mirror. We just want the data. Show us how well our clients are moving. And that's a huge problem solver for us. So okay, that this is definitely something that's much more appealing. So I had to really train myself to think about what does the customer want as opposed to what I want. What is a real problem to fix as opposed to some shiny new technology. But also doing Excel spreadsheets for financial projections. That was definitely a struggle.
How did being an entrepreneur affects your life? At the very beginning, when you started, moving from working to mainly working to a full-time being an entrepreneur, it changed so much the life of many. How was for you?
I mean, it was definitely a huge adjustment because working with the multinational company, it's a very secure job. It's comfortable, and like the biggest change I remember is like 5:30 on a Friday when I was working with the multinational company. Close the laptop, that's it. The weekend is here. My worries are gone until 9 o'clock on a Monday. Okay, here we go again. Write some code. Whereas for an entrepreneur, it's like, okay, I'm like trying to like close the laptop, forcing myself to, late in the evening time. But even when I turn off the laptop, the wheels are always still turning, waking up in the night, like, oh, I need to solve this thing, or oh, I have a new idea. I want to like write this down. You never get to fully switch off. So it does take some time to get used to that always on feeling. But really, like, a key thing about entrepreneurship is being comfortable, being uncomfortable. You always have to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. So it's definitely something you need to get used to, but it just comes with discipline.
You have to have discipline. Without this, it's extremely complicated because you are the one who owns your time. You are the one who decide what to do, not. So being an employee is a different story. Of course, the rewards are totally different. If you get right, do you have any balance in your life? Do you try to have a routine?
Oh, for sure. I mean, being physically ready for work is the most important thing because, like, for me, I'm extremely disciplined around every morning. I get up early, I do my exercise. That's either a weightlifting session or Muay Thai. So I got a long, heavy bag during lockdown. So 30 minutes, just, hit and kick and, elbow, knee this bag, sweat it out. Okay, I'm ready for my day. I always do meal preparation at the weekend, so I have good food ready to go that's really quickly when I need it. And I'm very, very conscious about trying to get to sleep on time when I can. So, if I can get 7 hours of sleep a night, it sounds like a lot of sleep for founders. You hear, oh, people are working on 2, 3 hours sleep. That's not sustainable. So for me, I don't have a lot of free time for myself. I work, I sleep, I work out. I might have 1 or 2 hours in the evening for, a TV show, see my boyfriend, things like this. But you have to be disciplined around the physical aspects, because if you're not physically ready to do work, you're not going to do good work.
That's completely true. But as you started, right? And when you start, as you say, you have many problems in terms of knowing what to do and many tasks, accounting, marketing, sales, tech, software. It's all together in one go. And have you ever thought I'm the most unqualified founder? I won't get there. Actually, what am I doing?
Like there are so many thoughts that run through your head. Like, negative feedback to yourself is such a destroying factor because, as part of this entrepreneurship program with Enterprise Ireland, at the end of it, we had to produce a business plan and 5-year financial projections. But that stage, I still didn't even know how I was going to price the product. I hadn't really nailed down how many customers there were in which region. And I just had this blank spreadsheet in front of me. I was like, this is going to be impossible. I don't know how to do this. But, self, like, motivation, and you can't beat yourself down over things. You just have to be positive and say, okay, I will do this. Maybe I'll take a break for half an hour, go outside or focus on something I'm more comfortable with, like, writing code or doing social media posts, things like this. But you really have to be positive to yourself because if you're being negative, like the outcome has to be positive. So if you just drive yourself towards positivity, it can be very, very difficult at times, but it has to be done.
What actually do you like the most in your day by day? What's the task? What's the time that you really enjoy doing your day? In between all.
So this one, like my favorite thing to do for my business is pitch. Like I love telling people about my company. I love sharing our journey, what we're doing, what we're building, whether that's, someone I meet like in a bar, they're like, oh, what do you do? It's like, well, I'm a startup founder, and I pull out like my video of how the product works on my phone. Like, I get a buzz out of that. Or if I'm on stage at a competition, showing people, I love seeing their eyes light up when they're saying, wow, this is cutting edge technology. Like, I just love sharing that idea, see people get passionate about the product as well. Like, I'm a coder by trade. Coding is fine, but really I think my time is better spent elsewhere, as long as I'm not like writing Excel spreadsheets. Thankfully, shout out to Cullum, he's our Excel man. So, we talk about, okay, if we want to cut our costs down next year, where should we do this? So we share the ideas on, okay, how we're going to do these projections, but that's definitely the least enjoyable thing. But I love pitching.
I mean, pitching for founders will never end. Sorry, for an entrepreneur will never end. You will be always pitch your business. Even sales, it's a form of pitching. We pitch all the time as an entrepreneur. We must enjoy it, right? If you don't enjoy pitching what you are proud of, what's the point to be an entrepreneur? How do you keep motivating yourself?
I mean, it all just comes down to the mission, because on those really hard days, like if you get a no that you were expecting, or there's some other curveball that comes your way, you're thinking, God, this is so hard. Why don't I just do something else? If I think about, well, what else would I rather be doing? Like, I can't think of anything else. Like, I wouldn't go back and work as a software engineer for a firm, even though I'd be earning fantastic money at the stage of, my career and skill set that I'm at. But like, what really drives me is this mission that I want to build something with cutting edge technology that helps people access fitness and healthcare around the world. And as long as I say, look, this is what I want to do, I can stay motivated even on those very difficult days.
Hey, what's your relationship with failure? Do you think about failing sometimes?
Well, I mean, we all go through small failures every day. You can really beat yourself up over things like, it's like today, I might have sent like the wrong document to someone, or, I might have been 2 minutes late for a meeting because I didn't keep track of another meeting. Like you can have really negative thoughts and, oh, this was a failure. I wasn't as punctual as I wanted to be, or I wasn't really careful about my email. But you just have to say, okay, look, this was a mistake. Let's just note next time, proofread your email before you send out that document. But you always have to take into consideration future failure. Like entrepreneurship, it is a risky endeavor, but you have to just try and minimize those risks. Because for us, like a risk could be, some other competitor that is way better funded than us steams onto the market. Now, we believe our software and our team is very, very unique, and this is a very difficult product to copy or to enter. But there are always those risks, that someone else could overtake you, so you can think about failures and things that way. But, at the end of the day, if I'm always thinking about what could happen in the worst case, like how am I going to find motivation to put in a huge day in terms of all the different work I have to achieve? So I mostly think about success.
Yes, failure is there. We can't hide it, but who cares? I always address the failure in a very comfortable way. The only problem I find in Europe is more about the structure of the system itself, that very little allows failing funders, because when you fail, you see this problem, banking, all this kind of stuff. So a more harmonized system that if I'm going to fail, they actually they reward me because at least I tried. They will change the dynamics completely. But failure is there. We need to live by failure and try, of course, try to avoid it as much as we can. What do you like to do outside working in your free time, spare time?
Well, I mean, this is probably very obvious based on our earlier conversations, but like the gym and fitness is just the most important thing to me, probably in terms of, isolated activities on my own. Like when I'm in the gym and I'm just focused on, getting this weight from the ground to overhead and getting that big lift, it just, gives me joy. It's like, yes, I accomplished this task. It's completely like, it's not completely unrelated from my work because it's still tied to the problem, but it's my time. It's my spare time. But, my partner, he emigrated for 3 years and thankfully he's moved back to Ireland now. So I used to spend some of my time going over and back to the Netherlands, which was additional stress on top of being a founder. But now that he's back, it's amazing. Just, take some time to, cook some dinner, watch a movie, just to have some time with him and try to just like, put my phone away for an hour. Like it's really important to spend time with family and friends. But, at the same time, they don't understand fully what you're going through. You can say, oh, it's 9 p.m. Why are you home now? You left at, 7 this morning. It's such a long day. It's like, yes, I know, but, just bear with me. Hopefully this will become good. So, I'm really thankful for all my friends and family around me.
Finger crossed, maybe pays off on that. Uh, Now, do you take part in these tech meetings, summit? For example, now we have the web summit, and after Slash, and so many summit are done in UK, in London, but or even the small one, small gathering. Do you go there, and what's your take? How do you think the tech ecosystem works now?
So, like, time prioritization is really key because if you're a founder, you could spend your whole life just going to conferences and meetups and things like this. It's great to have a network, but you need to be really, really careful with your time because there are only 24 hours in the day. There are only 168 hours in the week. It's what time do I need to spend for what activity? So, at least talking about Ireland locally, there's an amazing tech ecosystem here. So, like, the NDRC is a national body with different hubs around the country. So there's Portershed in Galway, Dog Patch Labs in Dublin. They run amazing events to help entrepreneurs get together, but also, like, Dog Patch Labs in particular, they want to run a women entrepreneurship network where female founders, normally like 50 to 100, come to these events, and they're very targeted towards fundraising or towards sales processes. So at these events, then you can actually meet with other founders and share your own experiences and problems that you've had, and try and figure out those problems together. So having that network is very, very important. In terms of like international conferences, so like, there was last year I went to one in Germany, and it wasn't as good as I expected. I ended up leaving much earlier than I thought because you know I just had positioned the idea wrong. It was more of a trade show than a conference. There weren't that many of my target customers there as I thought there would be. So I hadn't done any international ones until this year. Now I was at a debate in London for athlete data and who should actually have ownership of that. So lots of people in the room, stakeholders of sporting rights holders, lawyers, athletes, things like this. So events like that where you're meeting people in your industry are very, very important, not just other founders. But in terms of Web Summit, like, I hadn't really thought of it that much until I got an invitation to be one of the 24 startups to be selected for the Irish hub to represent Ireland at Web Summit this year. So, like, to me, as I said, time prioritization is so important. So I messaged some WhatsApp groups I'm in, some other entrepreneurs, like Slack channels, saying, guys, have you been to Web Summit? Is it worth the time? And they said, look, if you're being like offered a booth and you plan some investor meetings, like, absolutely go for it. So yeah, we'll be exhibiting at Web Summit this year on the 14th, the Tuesday Web Summit at the Irish Startup Hub. So if you're at Web Summit, I would absolutely love to meet you.
I see that. I see that. Now, if I sit you with in a round table with world leaders, and what would you like to tell them that for you must be fixed because it simply does not work?
Well, I mean, like, looking over the past week, what's on everyone's mind now is war and conflict. We have war in Europe with Ukraine and Russia, and now you have a hugely escalated war in Israel and Palestine. So, these are the top pressing issues in terms of like war and peace, climate change, of course. Like, Europe is trying so hard to get our emissions down. We're having all these mandates on electric cars, emissions, things like this. People are trying really, really hard to cut down their emissions, and we're doing really, really well here. But you have some other countries, not to point fingers, that are building huge coal plants, putting massive amounts of pollution into the environment, shutting down their nuclear plants for coal factories because it's cheaper. It is such a huge step backwards. And when some of these countries are some of the biggest countries in the world, it's so degrading to everyone in Europe who are, we're small countries in comparison to some of these superpowers, and we're trying our best. But there needs to be a global effort on these, huge pressing issues of war and climate change, as the people who are making those top decisions.
What is the best book and author have you never read in your life?
So, like, my book passions are really in two very opposite ends, you could say. So I love science fiction, fantasy. I love getting involved in a very, very elaborate story with, magic, time travel, space travel, amazing, huge worlds, things like this. So by far the best book series ever for me, and the best author is Robert Jordan for The Wheel of Time. Like, it's 14 massive books and a prequel. Season 2 just came out on Amazon Prime. I was so hyped for years because I read these books. I absolutely adore them. So now to see it on TV is really, really interesting. Now, of course, I'm criticizing, oh, they changed this from the book. How did they do that storyline? But I'm loving how they're adapting it as well. So The Wheel of Time, in terms of fiction, is the best for me. But of course, then I also have a total opposite book interest in, real life. So, biographies, political commentary, business books, things like this. So by far the best business book I've ever read is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, who was one of the co-founders of PayPal and a very successful investor in Silicon Valley. So, that book really focuses on, creating a huge disruptive, product or innovation, as opposed to just, incremental improvements. Like, I find like my product and my company can be sometimes hard to pitch because we're really starting a new market. Like, we're solving a problem for sports teams, coaches, and physiotherapists to measure movement quality. But, we're improving on the wearables by just being hardware. But this is just the first step. Like, there's a whole emerging market on software for movement quality and automatic feedback detection. Like, this has huge scope across different sectors: sports, healthcare, fitness, health and safety. Like, this is a brand new market. And as the market is only new and not starting, some investors that might be more conservative find that hard sometimes to imagine on how you're going to form this market. But when I read 0 to 1, I thought, look, I'm at the cusp of a potential huge new market, and we could be a massive player in this space. So the Peter Thiel book is definitely one I would highly recommend.
Do you watch movie?
Occasionally. So like my favorite movie of all time, like I do like a good gory movie. To be honest, my favorite movie maker of all time is Quentin Tarantino. Like, some of his movies, they have amazing stories. I love the cinematography. Like, my favorite movie ever is definitely Reservoir Dogs. It's very violent, but I love the way the plot twists and you're learning more about the different characters and things. I thought that one was excellent. But very recently, like, I loved the Barbie movie. I just thought it was amazing.
Do you have any favorite actor?
Favorite author? So like Robert Jordan. Oh, actor. Sorry, yeah. So favorite actor. It's very hard to pick one favorite actor, but in terms of their performance in Barbie, my favorites probably this year are Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. Like, Ryan Gosling, for him to go from some serious roles into pretending that he's like a toy doll, and the jokes and the way he's like so silly in the movie, I just thought this guy is just the perfect actor. So yeah, Ryan Gosling.
What's the best lesson life gave to you?
Yeah, so I had a very difficult time last year in particular. Like, so I mentioned I went full time on the startup in October 2021. And then in March 2022, just 6 months after, I had a very serious medical issue. I was rushed to a hospital. And as a result of this issue, I had some very bad brain fog for weeks. I found it very hard to think. I felt like my intelligence level just dropped massively. I thought, oh my God, if this doesn't resolve, I'm not going to be able to build a company. I can't like write a business plan. I can't write code. Now, thankfully, that resolved itself. But because of this issue as well, I wasn't allowed to drive for 9 months. And in my area, like from my like village, there's no public transport. So I was, trying to get, lifts from people, or I was, cycling my bike in the rain, trying to get to customer meetings, arranging things online if I could, even though the pandemic was over. So it's much better to meet people in person. So to really persevere through that time where I had this medical issue, which is now resolved, was a very, very difficult lesson for me. But because of that, I've built up so much resilience. And I know now whatever's thrown my way, I can definitely push through it.
Your greatest wish?
So, my greatest wish is to make precision sports technology a global company. Like, it sounds like bizarre when, the investors really want, like, you see some like of the bigger investors that want the massive ambitions, but the ones that are more accessible to us at our stage want, a very, very robust model and a, quick and easy exit. Yeah, there is, good potential for exits, but my greatest wish is to be a global leader of this company that can service digital health, fitness, sports, and try and do some good in the world. This is really where I want to see myself spending my life and my energy. And my greatest wish is to make this a success, but also to be able to provide for my family and my close friends, and to have an enjoyable lifestyle, spending time with the people I love, and also getting to spend some time in nature as well. Like, of course, I haven't been able to do any traveling since I started my company, but I'm hugely passionate about seeing new places. Like, I really want to go to Mexico, Peru. I want to see, the Americas. I want to see, more parts of Asia, Australia, Africa, like you name it. I want to see the world as well. So I have to put that on hold for now while I'm building my business. But hopefully, if the business is successful, I'll have other people in the company that can, take charge while I can maybe turn off things for a few weeks. So that's definitely a big wish as well.
The world is beautiful, must be seen. Let me close. If I'm asking you to recommend something to all the founders watching this podcast, what would you like to recommend them?
So, like, the top things for me for sure are certainly around, trying to have some routine around physical health, because I know it's really, really hard when you have so many pressures and deadlines. You say, oh, I don't have time for exercise or to make food. It's like, look, if you put aside 1 hour on the weekend, you can make like 7 meals. Just make a huge pot of stuff and you'll have food for the week. Or, 20 minutes of exercise is absolute, that has massive benefits. If you're just doing high intense exercise, it just completely changes your day. And then the other side then is, just around trying to be positive with yourself. Don't be thinking about, oh, this isn't going to work out, or, I made this mistake, I'm not getting funded. It's like, okay, there are very hard days, but you need to think about what is the best outcome, what are the positive aspects. So as long as you try and keep on the positives and look after yourself, because if you don't have the physical readiness to actually run your business, your business is not going to run itself. So you need to look after yourself first and then your company. So they're the top pieces of advice that I would give.
Emma, thank you so much for coming to the Life of Founder. It's been, as always, an absolute pleasure for me. Thank you.
Max, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to meet you.